Good morning. So, in the last class, we have discussed on electromagnetic wave propagation in free space or in vacuum. And what we have done with the help of those four Maxwell's equations, we have derived the wave equation in free space in terms of electric field, also in terms of magnetic field. And we have seen that the electric field and magnetic field behaves like a wave. And the velocity of the electromagnetic wave, the velocity of the electromagnetic wave was estimated to be the velocity of light in free space. That is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second precisely. We have also observed that why light wave is called a transverse wave. In fact, the electromagnetic wave is a transverse wave in the sense that electric field, magnetic field, electric field and magnetic field are mutually perpendicular to each other, and both of them are perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And the vector which is in the direction of propagation is called the propagation vector, which is generally denoted with the vector k. So we can easily say that electric field, magnetic field and propagation vector, that is E, B and K, are mutually perpendicular to each other. And if we observe the animation, this is the direction along which the wave is actually propagating. You observe, this is the direction along which the wave is propagating. That means this is the direction of K. And electric field and magnetic field, you observe, are perpendicular to that direction of propagation. In fact, this electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other also. We have observed that each of these electric field and magnetic field has some amplitude and has a phase. So electric field, when somehow is created, that time varying electric field produces magnetic field. That time varying magnetic field in turn produces electric field, and the process continues in such a way that electromagnetic wave propagates in the direction of the propagation vector. But please do remember that these three vectors, electric field, magnetic field, and propagation vector, are always perpendicular to each other. But if we assume, say, propagation vector is along z direction, that means the wave is propagating along positive z direction, then what would be the direction of electric field and what would be the direction of magnetic field, that we'll understand today. And the whole electromagnetic spectrum consisting of gamma ray, ultraviolet, infrared, X-ray, radio wave, millimeter wave, all are within this electromagnetic spectrum, and each of this type of wave propagates in vacuum with the velocity 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. And if we observe their wavelength for this whole electromagnetic spectrum, it is as small as 10 to the power minus 13 centimeter for gamma ray, 10 to the minus 9 to 10 to the minus 10 centimeter for X-ray, to as high as 1 kilometer for radio wave. Therefore, since we know that wavelength and frequency are inversely proportional to each other, we can understand that the wave which has a smaller wavelength has a higher frequency. That means in case of gamma ray or X-ray, their wavelengths are very small. As a result, they have very high frequency. Whereas radio wave has larger wavelength, that means the distance between the crest, two consecutive crest or two consecutive trough, is very large. That's why the frequency is very small. The frequency is very small. And that is observed here. You observe when the wavelength is written here meter. So when the wavelength is reducing, then the frequency increases. And each of these type of wave as particular application, like we use radio waves for our FM or AM radio frequencies. We use them for televisions also. Microwaves are used for radars, molecular research, and many more. X-ray have so many applications in security, in medical science, in all the other cases. In fact, in research, we need to use X-ray because they have very small wavelength. Gamma ray being radioactive, we cannot use it for our medical purposes. So X-ray is generally used. And out of this whole electromagnetic spectrum, our visible range is actually very, very small. The visible range, the range which we can observe is very small, which is within 4,000 to 8,000 angstrom. So it is a very small region in which the visible electromagnetic spectra lies. Now, let me show you an animation. You observe the direction of propagation is towards that plane, and the electric field denoted by that blue color and variation of magnetic field denoted by red color are perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to the direction of propagation. But please be careful that these are actually vibrations of electric field and magnetic field. That means if we observe them closely, now observe. This is the one is the variation of electric field, other is the variation of magnetic field. And for different types of rays, like in case of gamma ray, you observe the frequency changes for different types of rays because they have different wavelengths. But in each case, whether it is a radio wave or it is a gamma ray, the electric field, magnetic field, and propagation vector are always mutually perpendicular to each other. Okay, let it be. As I was mentioning, that now we know that electric field, magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. But somehow we need to find out the relation between the magnitude of the electric field and magnetic field, so that if we can, if the amplitude or magnitude of one is supplied to us, we can estimate the magnitude of other. Or if I know the direction in which one of them lies, suppose we know that electric field lies along x-axis, wave is propagating along y-axis, then what would be the direction along which magnetic field lies, or vice versa. So for that type of problem, first thing we require is the relation between the magnitude of electric field and magnetic field. Now in the previous class, we have a vector relation between these three. And what was that relation? If we remember, the three vectors we have are E, H, and K vectors. And for or to remember those things, we discussed that we'll go alphabetically. E, H, K. That is the alphabetical direction, and that will be considered as positive. So, what would be the relations? There are two relations we have. One was with K cross E, and other was K cross H. We can take any one, but just to remember that when K cross E is obtained, K cross E we are going in the direction of alphabet. So we should get positive H. Similarly, when we go along K cross E, we are going opposite to the alphabetic direction. So we get minus E. Omega is associated with both the cases. Now, What is the constant which is generally associated with magnetic field? We know it is mu naught, because we are dealing with free space now. So it is mu naught, free space permeability. And the constant which is associated with electric field in free space is free space permittivity, E naught. So these are the relations between E, K and H. From the first relation, we can say H is perpendicular to K and E. From the second relation, we can say E is perpendicular to K and H. So if we think both the relation, then we can say these three vectors are mutually perpendicular to each other. Now, our objective is to find out the relation between the magnitudes. If I take the magnitude, K cross E means K into E into sine of the angle between them. And we know that angle between K and E is 90 degree. So sine 90 degree 1. So we have magnitude as K into E equals to mu naught omega H. Okay. Therefore, from it, we can write that H by E, which is same as the magnitude of H naught by magnitude of E naught. E naught, H naught, if you remember, those are the amplitudes. Amplitudes for magnetic field and amplitudes for electric field. Remember, we have written E as E naught, that is the magnitude, e to the power I omega t minus k dot r. That's how electric field is represented. Similarly, magnetic field can be represented as this. Okay. So these E naught, H naught are the magnitude of electric field and magnetic field. So now I want the relation between them. So from this equation, what we can write? H by E means K by mu naught omega. Now, what is omega by K? What is omega by K? This quantity omega by K, that is angular frequency per unit wave number, is actually, please note it down, this ratio is nothing but the velocity of the wave. Omega by K, this ratio between these two, omega by K is always the velocity of that wave. So whatever type of wave you use, so whenever in your class 7 you have waves, then you have represented the wave as some constant, say sine omega t minus kz. You have written wave is propagating along z direction. Then what is the velocity with which the wave is propagating? It is omega by k. So here also omega by k is the velocity, and we know in free space the velocity is velocity of light in free space, that is c, 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So we can easily write this thing as c into mu naught. C is omega by k. Now we also know from our previous day lecture that c, the velocity, was found out to be 1 by root over mu naught epsilon naught. From that, we have estimated the velocity of light to be 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. When we put the values of mu naught and epsilon naught, then we obtain velocity of light as 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So if we can put this value here, it will be root over mu naught by epsilon naught by mu naught. That means it is nothing but root over epsilon naught by mu naught. So the ratio of amplitude of H and E is the root over of mu naught epsilon. That means in simple words, we can simply write it as root over epsilon naught into E naught equals to root over mu naught into H naught. You observe again, mu naught is associated with H naught or magnetic field, and epsilon naught is associated with electric field. So this is the relation between electric field and magnetic field amplitudes. So this is one way we can find out the relation between the amplitudes. We can write it in other way also. Now, suppose I want B. Why I am writing B, you will understand, because it will be easier to remember. We know that magnetic field uh, is associated with magnetic flux density B with the relation B equal to mu naught H. B equal to mu naught H. So if we put the value of H, this is our H by E is this. So if I put the value, what will be the thing? K by omega into E. It is K by omega into E. Because mu naught cancel out. This mu naught cancel out. So what is left? E by, now omega by K is velocity of the wave. That means in this case it is C. So it's simple. You need to only remember that B equals to E by velocity. Magnitude of magnetic field, or magnitude of, better to say magnitude of magnetic field magnetic flux density, magnitude of magnetic flux density is equal to electric field intensity by velocity of light. If the wave is propagating along free space, then it will be E by C. So again, what we can now write, what are the relations? The first relation, we can write it in this way, that root over epsilon naught into E naught, or E, whatever you write, that is equal to over mu naught H naught. So this is one relation. Second relation, we can say that B equals to, or B naught equals to, whatever you write, the magnitude of electric field intensity by velocity of light in free space. So this relation holds in free space. This is for free space. This is only in free space. Now, if you go beyond free space, suppose now the electromagnetic wave is propagating through a medium. Suppose X-ray is penetrating our muscles. Then it's not free space. Then its velocity will not be C. Velocity will be reduced. What would be the velocity? Say the velocity is now V. So in that case, for any other medium, then we can write it just, instead of C, we'll write V. That's all. So in other medium, we can just write V naught equal to E naught by V. V is the velocity of that electromagnetic wave in that medium. Now, then what will be the relation between H naught and E naught? Simple. We know H naught equals to, the opposite thing, right? My mistake. H naught equals to B by mu naught. That means in free space, we can easily write it as this one. So we need not to remember both the relation. Either we can remember this one, or I can remember this one. If I remember that magnetic flux density equals to electric field intensity by velocity, that will be sufficient for us. Because from that I can find out the relation between H naught and E naught. Now, one thing, when you study electromagnetic theory in detail, you will observe that though here electric field, magnetic field, both are present, but generally when we derive equations, electric field is considered, and it is similarly the magnetic field will do the same. And electric field is called the light vector. Electric field is called light vector, not the magnetic field. Why? Why we always give more importance to electric field? Because of this relation. Because of this relation. You observe here that magnitude of magnetic field, or magnitude of flux density, is estimated from intensity of electric field dividing the velocity of light, and velocity of light is huge. Velocity of light in free space field is very, very large. So if you are dividing a quantity by order 10 to the power 8, the value will be very small. That means generally V naught, the amplitude or magnitude of magnetic flux density is much, much smaller than E naught. Magnitude of magnetic field is much smaller than that of electric field. That's why it is easier to measure electric field intensity. And we give importance to electric field intensity. And that's why it is called light vector in case of electromagnetic wave propagation. So whenever we need the relation, this will be our clue that magnitude can be estimated. If I know one magnitude, other can be estimated, and the direction can be obtained from the relation either of these two. Either of these two. From that, we can find out the direction of that particular quantity. Now, till we have discussed about free space propagation. That means we assume the electromagnetic wave is propagating in free space. Now, if it's not free space, instead of free space, now it is a linear medium. Now, the wave is propagating through a linear medium. In that case, what will be the changes in the Maxwell's equation? Suppose it is passing through a insulating medium and a linear insulating medium. Now there are different types of medium. Some are linear medium, some are non-linear medium. In case of non-linear medium, there are some quantities which behaves non-linearly. So well, I'm not going into detail of that. So the point is I am here taking a medium, simple type of medium, like a normal insulator. So in that case, our four Maxwell's equations, with first one, divergence E. Now we are assuming a normal linear insulating medium, so there is no charge here. So divergence E 0, just like the case of free space. Second one, that divergence H0, it is always same, irrespective of the medium. Third one, curl E. In free space, we have written it curl E equals to minus mu naught. Instead of mu naught, now, just a second. Now, instead of mu naught, we will write it as mu because it is not free space now. In free space, the permeability is mu naught. But now we have a medium. We have a medium through which the wave is propagating, and in that medium, the permeability is mu and permittivity is epsilon. So only the difference, instead of mu naught, we will write here mu. Rest is same, del E, del T. Del T. And the last one, curl H, no current. So first quantity on right hand side is again 0, just like in free space. The second quantity in free space was epsilon naught del E del T. So here we will write epsilon del E del T because it is not free space. In this medium, the permittivity is epsilon, not epsilon naught, epsilon 0. Now again, if we want to derive the wave equation, same process. That means what we have done, I'm just repeating it. We have taken curl of third equation. If I take the curl of third equation, now it will be mu curl of del H del T. So it will be dot E minus del 2E equals to minus mu. Again, we know that space and time derivatives are interchangeable, just like in the case of free space. So it is del T of curl H Therefore, it can be this divergency is again 0. So del 2 E minus mu epsilon del 2 E del T2 equals to 0. So what was our equation in case of free space? In free space, our equation was only the difference was del 2 E minus mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E del T2 equals to 0. That was the equation. Only the difference we have now, instead of mu naught epsilon naught, we have mu epsilon. Same process. You need not to do anything different. Same process. Similarly, if we do the process with magnetic field, that means if we want to decouple fourth Maxwell's equation, what we'll get? Del 2H minus mu epsilon del 2H del T2 equals to 0. So again you observe we get wave equations. So if we compare with normal wave equation, what we can say again? That velocity is 1 by root over mu epsilon. That is the point I want to make here. That if instead of free space, we are taking any linear medium, linear insulating medium, then velocity will be now 1 by mu naught epsilon. Whereas in free space, the velocity was 1 by root over mu naught epsilon. By the same process, we have obtained velocity as 1 by root over mu naught epsilon. But here, velocity comes out to be 1 by root over mu epsilon. This can be written as mu means total permeability. Total permeability mu is composed of mu naught, that is free space permeability, and relative permeability of the medium. Similarly, epsilon, the permittivity, which we have discussed in dielectrics, it is also composed of epsilon naught and epsilon r. If you remember, this epsilon naught is the free space permittivity and epsilon r is the relative permittivity, which is the ratio of permittivity of the medium to the permittivity of free space. That is epsilon by epsilon naught. That was relative permittivity. So if we put these values here, it will be mu naught epsilon naught mu r 1 by root over mu naught epsilon naught is nothing but velocity of light in free space. So it is 3 c. So what we get in simple words, it is mu r epsilon r. So we can just write velocity of light in any linear insulating medium is velocity of light by root over mu r epsilon r. So again I am writing velocity is velocity of light in free space by root over mu r epsilon r, where mu r is relative permeability of the medium and epsilon r is the relative permittivity of the medium. Now, what would be the maximum value, or sorry, better to say minimum value of mu r epsilon r? Mu r epsilon r both would be greater than equal to 1. Their minimum value will be 1, which will be in free space. In free space, mu r or epsilon r is 1. In other medium, the value will be greater than 1. So, if it is not free space, then mu r epsilon r both are greater than 1. So, you are dividing C by a quantity greater than 1. You are dividing C by a quantity greater than 1. That means V is always less than C. So, velocity of the wave, velocity of electromagnetic wave, when it propagates within a medium, its velocity reduces. So that's why velocity of light in free space is the maximum velocity. Whenever the electromagnetic wave enters within a medium, then its velocity decreases because of this reason. Now keep in mind that for non-magnetic medium, which are generally our medium, Magnetic medium means like iron, cobalt, nickel. These are the magnetic medium. Apart from those things, all the other mediums are non-magnetic medium. So in non-magnetic medium, mu r is 1. Only in case of magnetic medium, mu r will be greater than 1. So for non-magnetic medium, mu r is 1. In that case, what will be the velocity? Velocity is simply written by c by epsilon, root over epsilon naught. That means if somehow we know the velocity, or if I just now know the relative permittivity of a medium, if I know the relative permittivity of the medium, then we know the velocity of the electromagnetic wave in that medium also. Even you can estimate the refractive index of the medium. Refractive index, you are reading refractive index from your class 7 days. From class 7 onward, you are studying refractive index. What is refractive index of a medium? Refractive index of a medium is just the ratio of velocity of light in free space by velocity of light in that medium. Refractive index of a medium is defined as the velocity of light in free space to the velocity of light in that medium. So if we use this relation, then what will be our value? Refractive index of the medium, in general formula, it is epsilon root over epsilon r mu r, but maximum medium is non-magnetic. That means we can generally write it as root over epsilon. So if you are asked, find out the refractive index of the medium, don't be afraid. If you know the relative permittivity of the medium, then you actually know the refractive index of the medium. You know actually the velocity of the electromagnetic wave in that medium. So all are known.